Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's 30 Under 30 live chat. With us today is a panel of 30 Under 30 coaches that will be discussing their insight and experiences as a player transitioning to a coach. My name is Laura von Stockhausen. I'll be your moderator for today. Now let's get to know the panel. Why don't you guys go ahead and introduce yourself, just your name and maybe where you're coaching now. We'll start with you, Eddie.
Hi everyone, I'm Eddie Abavio, and I'm currently coaching for a small club in Tampa Bay, Florida, and I'm the head coach of a U11 boys and head coach of a U under 8 boys, and I do speed and agility for the entire club.
Awesome. And Lorraine?
Hi, my name's Lorraine Quinn. I'm currently coaching at West Point, a Division I college in New York, about an hour north of Manhattan, and I'm one of the assistant coaches at West Point.
Great. And Mavis?
Hi everyone, my name is Mavis Danso. I'm currently coaching at DC Started. I'm coaching the ages of U9 and 10 girls.
Perfect. Before we get started with the questions we have provided, I'd like to remind all of our viewers that if you have any questions for our panel, you can submit them via Twitter using the hashtag NSCAALive. Now to get started with our questions. The first one I'm going to open to the group. I'll start with you, Eddie. If you guys could maybe just share a little bit about your playing experience and kind of that transition from being a player to where you are now as a coach.
Okay, basically I've been playing the game for a long time. I played when I was young. I played for the U.S. under 17 national team. I went to school at the University of North Carolina. I played there for 4 years, and then I played pro. I got drafted to play for Colorado Rapids, and then I played in the NASL for a little bit. Transitioning from player to coach, I've always wanted to give back to the game in some way, so I found coaching to be the perfect platform. When I was playing, I was extremely competitive, and I was always organizing my teammates in the best position, best situation, best manner to win games. So transition from being the organizer on the field and now coaching a team is really been not the easiest, but it's been smooth for me actually. So I'm enjoying it and having fun.
A little bit of a natural transition there for you from
Yeah.
kind of leader on the field to leader off. Perfect. How about you, Lorraine?
Well, same with Eddie. I think all three of us probably been played for a very long time. So the transition from a player going into coaching is never easy. Mine was a little unique. I played all growing up. Played at Duke University. Sorry, Eddie. Um, played with our youth national teams growing up as well. So I was in a bunch of different environments playing, and then once I was done playing, I started actually doing some smaller group technical sessions with younger kids before I started getting into the field stuff. And then my transition from there was interesting because I did some younger stuff and then decided to go over to England and coach at a university over there, but also play because their rules are different. So I became sort of a player coach at a university in Northeast England, and that was a really interesting transition. I'm glad that I did it that way because I was able to continue to play but step into my coaching shoes in more of a gradual fashion than a lot of people have to do it. So I started doing that, and then once I moved back to the States, that's when I got into coaching at the college level. So my transition going from player coach in England I think it was a great way for me to transition there. And it gave me a viewpoint and learned how to get respect from players in different ways. So that's kind of how my transitioning went, playing and then going over to England to player coach. And then when I came back here, I was just coaching from there.
Awesome. Sounds great. How about you, Mavis? What's a little bit about your playing experience and kind of where you are now?
Uh, for me, the transitioning was not that easy, as my colleagues said, because I played with the Ghana women's national team for 9 years. I played twice in the Women's World Cup, and I had a great time playing there. I also played professionally here for 4 years. I played in FC Indiana and then played in the WUSL League in Rochester Rhinos. I also played 4 years in college here in Chicago at Robert Morris University, and it all happened too quick when I played in the Women's World Cup in 2007 and got hurt.
Oh.
And I knew from there that I would not be able to play the game professionally like the way I used to. But I loved the game so much, and I didn't want to stay out of it. So when I decided to hang my soccer cleats, I told myself that I had to find a way to stay involved in the game. So after my graduation from college, I moved to Virginia, and I volunteered to coach in Alexandria as a coach for a U13 girls team. And from there, when I started the coaching, I realized that I thought I knew so much about the game, but then when I started coaching, I realized that I had a long way to go, and coaching education was the first thing that I had to start with. And I took my D licenses, and I met this great, incredible woman, Karen Kessler, who is the technical director of the girls team at DC Started. And I must say that she was the one who helped me with the transition. She made it really smoothly for me. She's like my mother, she's my friend, and she's my mentor. And here I am now. And when I look back, I have no regrets, but it's tough not to be able to play professionally again. But I really loved being in a game, and I'm really grateful for being in the coaching and helping as much as I can.
Perfect. Well, Mavis, you actually kind of bring us up to our next question, which is maybe what was the biggest eye-opening experience when you transitioned from player to coach? I think a lot of athletes probably assume they've been around the game so long that going from, like we said, a leader on the field to maybe a leader on the sideline would be really easy. And Mavis, you mentioned that you thought you maybe knew a little bit more than you did, and then you had to get all this coaching education to kind of maybe bring it all together. Is there anything else, Mavis, that really was kind of opened your eyes to coaching as opposed to playing, or maybe a different part of coaching that you didn't realize as a player?
I will probably say that would be communication. When I was playing professionally, we all know that. We communicate on the field with your teammate. But that's because we were all playing at a professional level, and it's so easy to communicate with your teammate. But when you become a coach and you coach in a U team like U9 and U10, it's really difficult because you do have the knowledge, but how do you communicate that knowledge to the little ones for them to be able to do the things that you want them to do? How do you break it down into their level so that they will be able to execute the skills and everything that you want them to do? And that was a big eye-opening for me. The communication involved with the kids and also with the parents, that was an eye-opening. And another eye-opening for me, it's the coaching education aspect. I learned a lot. And I must say, Laura, I had a great time when I came to the convention in Philadelphia. The networking, the practice sections, and the people that we met, it was incredible. The ideas that was shared and the knowledge and everything was incredible.
Yeah, so definitely coaching education is something that you maybe didn't know as much about as a player. How about you, Eddie? What are some of those eye-opening experiences that that you first kind of noticed when you were making that transition?
I mean, like Mavis said, for me it was communicating what I know and breaking it down to a manner that my players, my young players, will understand. And at first it was frustrating because I have this picture in my mind that what I want them to do, but they haven't had the fundamentals taught to them, how to trap the ball. So as I continue to coach, and I really had to go back and break down everything. Break it down from the beginning, and we worked on passing, trapping, dribbling, and then from there, the players started doing what I expected from them. So it was really communicating and just learning how to break down everything, like simplify everything and show demo after demo, because usually when I first started coaching, I would tell them, hey, you're going to do this, you're going to pass here, run here, and then they'll start doing it. I'm like, you guys aren't doing anything right. So I really had to like learn learn how to like actually learn how to coach.
Yeah.
I have the knowledge, but I had to learn how to become a coach, and I really learned a lot from just watching other coaches, interacting with them. We have a veteran coach who's been coaching for like 20 years at our club. I really like went to his sessions and just watched and just learned under him. So it's been a learning experience for me. It's been
Right.
very interesting.
Perfect. How about you, Lorraine? You've got a little bit older players, and how's that transition maybe differed from coaching with the youth side that you did initially, and where you are now, and some of those other eye-opening experiences for you?
Yeah, I think that starting with a little bit younger, I agree with Eddie and Mavis. First starting with the young kids, it did take me a little while to break it down and go back to basics for the kids and just be able to communicate the little things to sharpen up so that they can grow as players. And then going from the younger ones into the college game, I mean, still in your college game you have a range of ability and talents, and now at college they're coming from, at most places, especially at West Point, we're bringing kids in from all over the country, so there's different styles. So I think in the college game, one of the most eye-opening things for me is to cater to each one of your players individually to help them to grow. I think that becomes the most challenging thing. You want to have each set of skills and talents grow and then mesh them all together. So you're working, trying to cater to everyone individually and then getting them motivated as a team. One of the other things I think that's really eye-opening in the college game, there's so many other distractions. You have so much school and everything else going on too. You want to get that motivation and all the development that you do throughout the year with training and everything else, and a lot of it comes on their shoulders with the long summers and things like that to keep that development happening. So, and I think that's something that's probably eye-opening and a mission for every college coach is to really get that motivation where the players start taking it on their own.
Right. I think as a player, you maybe have your own motivation, and you forget as a coach that not everyone maybe holds the same.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, switching kind of points a little bit. I'm interested to kind of hear maybe if you guys have some tips for other players that would like to start maybe making their move towards coaching. How would you guys suggest young players maybe that aren't ready to start coaching in the next couple years, or still playing, but are starting to think that that might be their path when they, like you said, maybe just kind of have to hang up their boots. So maybe I'll actually get back to you, Lorraine, if you have any kind of tips for young players that are starting to prepare maybe for a future role in coaching.
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the things as a college coach too, you can see the players that just they have such a passion for it, and you can tell the ones that want to do something with it, whether it be coaching minimally or getting into it full time. You sort of get a feel. So I know myself and the rest of our staff at West Point, we encourage those players to start looking at things like a coach, and we'll hold different tactical sessions and chalkboard things, and I even will take some time during a drill if, say, we have a kid out injured that is one of the players that I think might wind up doing something with the game after college, and I'll just kind of ask questions to pick the brain so that they aren't just running through drills and doing it because the coach is saying, but they're really getting a better understanding for things. So that would be one of my, for a player that believes that coaching might be something they want to do, to pick your coach's brains now, and you start to gain a different respect for coaches and your former coaches once you start to understand it in a different way. So I try to take the time to try to get my players to start thinking about things like they're a coach already, and having them. There was even a couple times during drills I'll explain something, and then say someone coming up from the training room a little bit later, or I'll have my players actually break down, the drill or why we're doing something instead of myself always doing it, so that they are really gaining an understanding for things.
Right. So you're even saying as well, it's part of the coach's responsibility to kind of help find those personalities and those leaders and the real passion, and kind of build them up as well. How about you, Mavis? Do you have any tips for young players that are maybe interested in coaching in the future?
Yes, I believe I do. I think one of them will be, as Lauren said, it's is to ask questions when at practice sections. If they don't understand anything, they can go to their coaches and ask them. Another one will probably be I would encourage them to watch a lot of games to become students of the game. That's one way of uh, preparing yourself. They can go out and watch a college game or a high school game and pay attention to the style of play or the formation that the team plays, and they can bring that back to their practice sections and ask their coach if they have any questions. I will also encourage them to be open-minded and get open up to new ideas and changes that I think will help them when they transition from the player to the coaching role.
Perfect. How about you, Eddie? Any tips and insight on young
Yes.
players?
I think one of the things I wish I would have done while I was playing was get started my coaching licenses.
Mm,
Um, I think that's very important. It just opens up your mind about the game and so many ideas and philosophies. And also, for me, I always went up to my coaches and asked them questions and questions. They always suggested books for me to read
mm-hmm.
about coaches. I've read Ancelotti, Pep, Mourinho. So those were all suggested to me by coaches. So I mean, I think it's important that you have a conversation with your coach, with your coaches, and they can always help. I mean, for me, what really motivated me to coach was one of my coaches, Brett Jacobson. He coached me at Colorado Rapids, and he's always telling me, Eddie, you should coach. You have great energy. The kids will love you. You should do this. And that's all it took. He sowed that seed in my head, and after I was done, I was like, I got to coach because of Brett. So I think it's important to have to have a dialect or a relationship with your coaches too. So
Perfect.
Hi, Laura. I would like to jump in on what
Yeah,
Eddie said
sure.
about coaching education. That is huge. But one suggestion that I will have for these new upcoming coaches is that sometimes when you play at a professional level, you can get a waiver and go all the way up and take this coaching license. I will encourage them not to do that all the time and go through each course because I learned that through the process of going through my courses, and it's incredible to start from the basis regardless of
Mm-hmm.
the playing background that you have, because there is so much to learn. And if you skip and go all the way up to your B or A, you may get the licenses all right, but you may not get that much knowledge, because it's good to go through the different coaching courses and get to know the instructors and learn different coaching styles from each and every one of them. And these instructors out there are really great. They have good ideas, and they basically become our mentors and friends when we leave these coaching courses. So I will advise these young and upcoming coaches not to skip and go all the way high, but they should try as much as possible and go through the bases all the way and go up to the top.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Mavis. I definitely saw some other heads nodding in agreement as well. And speaking from the NSCA's point, of course, is I would, of course, agree with that, with each level kind of is representing maybe a different stage or different age group or a different tactical point. So I think when you kind of jump ahead straight to the advanced level stuff, you're right, Mavis, you're sometimes missing out on elements of the game that you maybe didn't think you needed some coaching education on, but definitely becomes helpful. Um, Kind of on a similar note, and we've talked about it a little bit, so I'd be interested if you guys have any other thoughts on this, is what other ways, maybe besides just encouraging them to watch more games, as you mentioned, Mavis, or asking questions like Lorraine and Eddie, you guys touched on, what are other ways that maybe you as a coach or other coaches out there can assist in their athletes that are trying to maybe make it to the next level as a coach or further their role in the sport of soccer. If there's anything else that you guys can think of that would maybe be helpful for other coaches to hear. Um, Lorraine, I don't know if you have any other insight on that or.
Yeah, of course. One of the biggest things that I would add to that is that everything's about networking. So for your players that want to get into things and start coaching, like I went and coached at that university in England, and one of my players from the former college I was working at, just gave me a phone call and said, "Hey, can you tell me a little bit more about that?" So I was able to be a networking resource for her and just got her email over to the.
No, that looks like Lorraine froze there. Um, so we'll get going. Well, Eddie, did you have anything to add on that since Lorraine froze? It looks like it.
Um,
I think the networking is a really good point in keeping your athletes connected with other coaches. But I don't know, Eddie or Mavis, if you guys have anything else to add on that, we can get your insight. Otherwise, we can move on to the next question. Did you have any other tips, Mavis, for assisting for coaches on how they can assist their players in becoming coaches or other kind of maybe avenues in our sports, help them get there?
I think one way will probably be the coaches being mentors to these players. It's
Yeah.
really helpful. I can use myself as an example where Karen Kessler and Khalid, they they are like a parents to me. They are like my parents,
Hmm.
and they are my mentors as well. And uh, because of that, I can go to them if I'm having any issues, if I have to plan a practice sections and I'm not sure what to do. I can go to them and show it to them, and they can add an insight to it. And so that kind of a parent-child mentor relationship, it's very helpful. And if these coaches can have that kind of relationship with these new upcoming players, that would be very helpful, where the players can feel free to go to them and ask them for any help that they need.
Perfect. So it sounds like making sure you're there as a networking tool and a mentoring tool to your players is always something crucial. Looks like we've got time for about one more question, and I'm going to come to start with you at this, Eddie. What do you think of maybe some of the biggest mistakes that either you made or you've seen other players make in that jump from athlete to coach? What are some mistakes? You look like you've got something
I
ready to
think
go.
I think my biggest mistake was I love the game so much and I always wanted to play, so I was reliving my playing career
Hmm.
while as a head coach,
Right.
getting on the field, just dribbling these little kids and just being the prime time of the show. So while doing that, just one day I sat back, I'm like, how can I coach these kids if I'm playing? I'm missing so many coaching opportunities
Hmm.
by just playing. So I really had to like take a seat back and like prevent myself from jumping in drills and just watch and coach. And it took a while for me to do that, but eventually I took a step back and I could see the progress that my players were making without me. Here and then I still have to jump in as a neutral to keep the sessions flowing, but yeah, I had to really take a step back and reevaluate jumping in and playing. So that would be my main mistake, I think, when I started coaching.
Well, that's a great point. How about you, Lorraine? What are some of the mistakes you've made or you're seeing other people make?
Well, I'm sure I've made the mistake of playing a lot as well. You just can't help yourself. Um, but I think that one of the biggest things I see, or some advice even, would be to keep your mind open to other philosophies. We have a tendency to want to coach how we played, or coach for the only style that we like, and everybody's so different in personality and in every aspect of their game. So to be in open so that you can make adjustments to the type of players that you have, because you might have one way that you really like to play, but your players might not necessarily fit that style. So you need to have an open mind to be able to make those adjustments.
Perfect. Mavis, how about you? Any last
Uh,
thoughts on that?
Yeah, I kind of agree with both Eddie and Lauren. It's sometimes we tend to be a little bit rigid and not open-minded because we think we've played at the professional level, we've seen it all and we know it all, but it's not always like that. We really have to be open-minded and be humble and learn ideas and share new ideas. One way, another mistakes that we do make is that sometimes we hold our players, with higher expectations. Sometimes I think we see ourselves in them, and we want them to kind of play like we did when we were at their age. And we live in a different era. Kids these days do think differently and do things differently than we did 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Hmm.
So I think we all need to sometimes step back a little bit and realize that we are not the ones that are playing now. We are the coach, and we really have to be a role model and motivate these kids and inspire them to play. And also, we have to. One thing that I learned that sometimes I forgot that you know this each kid has its own ability, and they perform within their own ability, and I cannot expect everyone to play the same. So yeah, those are some of the mistakes I make, and I'm still learning because I do them from time to time.
Well, I think that's the point. It's still a transition and becoming a better coach every day. Well, that's all the time we have today. I'd like to thank our panelists, Eddie, Lorraine, and Mavis for joining us with a lot of really great insight and tips on how to maybe take that next step in your coaching career. And if you are interested in becoming a coach or taking the next level to your coaching career, we have tons of courses being offered this spring and summer through the NSCA. Be sure to check them out at nsca.com/master schedule, where you can see everything from level 1 to our premier diplomas hosted all over the country. Thank you guys again for joining. Thank you to the viewers. Thank you to the panelists. And be sure to tune in next time. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.